Hello, and welcome to This Week in Watches. If you like the video, please do consider liking and subscribing. So happy Valentine's Day all, and as per usual, we'll still be going through the normal routine of highlights of YouTube, Instagram, some things I've seen on the broader internet, and a few non-watch related things just to keep it interesting. So the first video from YouTube I've focused in on this week was a video from Theo and Harris, which was with a gentleman called Brad Wilson, who was doing a bit of an overview of his watch collection. All sorts of different watches in there. They've said Rolex and Omega in the title, but quite a nice variety of watches. And it's a really interesting one in that he's a musician, but also has an interesting collecting hobby in these kind of whittled wooden duck decoys. And I think what attracted me to this was the kind of aesthetic of how it was shot and how they presented him as a collector, kind of as a bit of a counterpoint to some of the more snooty collectors you see. But to be honest, he's still got some pretty fancy luxury watches within there. So yeah, for me, it was kind of the presentation of this video that really kicked out. And of course, there's some really nice pieces within the video too. So yeah, I really recommend this one if you've not had a chance to see it yet. Second video I focused in on this week is a channel favourite, which is the Urban Gentry. I just think the quality of his videos is just fantastic, but also just his tastes and what he chooses to focus in on. It just seems to be so unique to him. So the one this week is the Breitling Comsibin Colt, a military automatic dive watch. And the reason this is just so cool is just a lot of the history that he goes into behind this watch. That's linked into the Italian military division, which is the Comsibin, which is this diver group, and he goes into lots of history around, where that group came from and what they do, and just brings a lot of extra romance to the watch. So he's just really good at finding these stories that sit behind pieces that I just don't think that you would have otherwise focused in on. So yeah, really nice job from TGV at the Urban Gentry on this video. The third video I've highlighted this week is from the excellent Jenny L. Well, once she'd sorted the audio out on the video, which was missing for the first while and caused a few panics, but this was a video that was on the Rolex Milgauss, which is one of their models I'm much less familiar with. She's kind of had this take on it where she's framed it as the nerdy watch, because obviously it was used by scientists, because Gauss is obviously the level of kind of affectation from magnetic fields, and is kind of the whole purpose behind this watch. And similar watches like the Omega Railmaster that focus in on Gauss as the kind of angle for the watch. So really nice presentation. Maybe missed a little bit of a POV on whether she specifically likes this watch or not. But yeah, nice introduction to thinking about the Milgauss. It seems from the video that maybe this is one of the models that's picking up, so interested to see what happens with the Milgauss model. I actually think it's pretty cool, so one to look for. And the final watch-related video for this week is from Teddy Baldassare, and this is not because I specifically learned anything new from the video, but just because it was fun. It was he'd set himself a budget of $25,000, went into this watch store and kind of picked how to make a watch collection from this as a whole over 30 minutes, working with a very pleasant lady who was working behind the counter. It was just a nice, wholesome video that was quite enjoyable. Had me yearning for being able to have a good dig around watch stores in the future. Like, the peak of my hobby obsession into watches has really been during the pandemic, so I've really missed out from being able to have a dig through actual watch stores themselves, especially within London. So looking forward to being able to do so. So this vicariously scratched my itch of wanting to be able to do that, which is why I've included it for today. Now, as will become apparent shortly, I've been on a real 5500 G-Shock Square kick this week, all triggered from watching a video again on the Urban Gentry around the history of this watch, kind of starting with Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Running Man. I got my own copy of it, which is the one there on the left, which is the more evolved version, which links into their Glide series, which is designed more for surfers. But I really like this. Obviously, totally unclassy, which is one of my preferences, in white there. So that's on my channel. In the middle there is a guy who I think just has fantastic taste, which is Luc Albert, with a much more classy version of it. And then on the right there, not actually from Instagram, but links into a video I'll show later, is the G-Shock McDonald's Big Mac collaboration, which I think is just a mad looking watch. Not probably one I'd buy, but just thought was fun. I think that some more people need to dig this out and put it up on Instagram. The next watch here is one of the reasons why I fall foul of all of the do's and don'ts of the watch channels that advise against getting involved in hype and overpaying and investing too much in affordable watches. But I just think this one's super cool, which is the Timex Beams, which is again a store that's over in Japan that does a lot of these collaborations, and it's kind of this tortoise shell, a bit like, you know, the spectacles that folks wear. I just think this looks really fun. Unfortunately, you can't get your hands on them, but maybe in the future, but I liked this model. Moving an increment up the value chain for some watches that are perhaps a bit more acceptable to my fellow watch enthusiasts is a couple of really nice Seikos. So on the left hand side there is a 6105, I presume 8110, but it might not be. I just really like the way that this is shot, and the background in particular is really nice. Just nice as a piece of photography as well as a great watch. On the right hand side there from Seiko Shepherd is a really nice example of a watch that I've not seen before, which is the 6306 7001. And finally, moving right up to the top of the value chain is a couple of slightly more high-end watches. So on the left hand there is from the Davidoff brothers, established vintage dealers, I believe, in Switzerland, and that is the Eberhard salmon dial. You can see here that they've done in honor of Chinese New Year. I think this just looks amazing, a little bit similar to the Mont Blanc salmon dial I've seen previously that the Time Tellers mentioned. Not a brand I'm familiar with, so I've been having a little bit of a dig into them. On the right hand side there is a model I just wasn't aware of from Creedor, which is their Phoenix chronograph. I forget the reference number, but I believe it's not made anymore. So it's a very, very interesting watch, and yeah, nice picture. Now, as for the broader internet this week, I've got an absolute cracker, which is the Shockbase website. So this is just amazing. It's a whole database that's got pretty much every G-Shock ever made on it. You can click into a specific series that you're interested in. For the example on screen, you can see I've clicked on the 5500, scroll through, and there's pretty much every 5500 ever made. It's amazing for hunting down different special editions as well. Often I've kind of stumbled across these in the past. This just gives you an ability to go out and look at them. That's kind of how I found that McDonald's Big Mac example I referred to previously. For those like me that like a particular colour, go in, click purple. There's every purple G-Shock that's ever been made, including one of my own examples, which I absolutely love, which is the one on screen. And finally, for my non-watch related YouTube suggestion for this week, is very much one of my other hobbies, which is not participating in, but watching boxing. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen my ridiculous Everlast oversized G-Shock for my skinny wrist, but I absolutely love it. So this is the go-to channel in terms of interviews with folks within the boxing world, which is IFL TV, run by Kugan Cassius, amongst others. He gets interviews with everyone from the very bottom up to the very top. This week in particular was an interview with the classic Eddie Hearn, much despised figure amongst many, but I absolutely love Eddie Hearn. I think he's absolutely class. He also seems to be into his watch collecting journey. I noticed him wearing a nice number the other day. So yeah, if you're into boxing, IFL TV is the place to go. And that's all for this lovely Valentine's Day edition of This Week in Watches. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and consider following me over at Watch Reactions on Instagram. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.